Welcome to Crafty Little Beach. This is Julie. Today I have a Dollar Tree DIY for you. Now, for this DIY, I decided to do a fairy garden tier tray. I thought it would make sense, right? I'm using my wood tier tray I got on Amazon, and for filler, I'm going to use reindeer moss and some of their floral moss just to mix up the greenery a little bit. And I'm going to use that all over both tiers. You could definitely use a round tier tray for this as well. I really prefer my rectangular ones like this. They just work well for the furniture I have in my house. They work well to hide like in the kitchen on the counter without taking up too much space. And on my entryway table, lots of different areas where I put tier trays in my home. They just fit really well for that. So I spread the reindeer moss out and then I add little clumps of the floral moss as well, just to break up some of the green and add a little variety. And I'm going to be doing that on the bottom tier as well. I do want to also add a little ladder. I thought it would be really fun to do a little rope ladder where the gnomes could go up and down the ladders from each tier tray, right? Top to bottom, bottom to top. So I just cut a piece of twine that's about the right length and I doubled that up. I cut two of them that length. For the ladder rungs, I'm going to use the Dollar Tree wood dowels. It's a nice small size. These are going to be easy to stain. I just take three of them, a makeup sponge, and some Antique Wax by Waverly. Give those a quick stain just to make them look a little bit more interesting. And then we'll cut these down to size. I thought it would be easier to stain it before I cut them, so I only have to stain 3 pieces of them. And I'm just going to put it together. Like, it kind of reminds me of the little ladders you see like in bird cages and pet cages and stuff like that, right? That's what I was looking for. But I just want to do a really decorational one. I'm not going to tie them. I'm just going to attach all of these with hot glue so it looks like a little ladder. And I cut them basically into thirds. There was a small piece I was cutting off the end because I was using one as reference to make sure that I did them all about the same length. And I just cut those down with my miter scissors. I got those miter scissors on Amazon. I really love them for crafting. They work really well for items like this without having to get the saw out. I just start at the bottom of my twine, adding a tiny dot of hot glue here to both sides and laying my little wood dowel right on top to make a ladder. I'm not measuring them. I'm just trying to estimate. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it to look like a fun little rustic ladder that would look cute on a fairy garden. This is really the only DIY I had to make for this tier tray using the fairy garden items from the Dollar Tree. They're so cute on their own. You don't have to do a lot to them. I leave a little extra twine there at the top to be able to attach that to my top tier. And I also try to clean up some of the hot glue. My hot glue gun does spit out quite a bit of hot glue to make that look a little bit better. And then I'm going to have it go like this, just on one side like this. I'm going to use a couple of dots of hot glue on the twine there at the top and have that go over that top tier, just tacking them on there really easily, having it free hanging like that down onto the bottom tier. And I thought that would be a fun touch for Little Fairy Garden. And then down here, we're going to again spread out that reindeer moss all over, mixed together with the floral moss to give us a great start to decorate this. I find it a little bit easier to put the moss in first and then add all the pieces to it. And I like the variety of color I got down there with the different reindeer mosses as well. Now for the first item we're going to use is the little tree house. It looks like a tree and it's nice and small. The color seems perfect. I'm going to put this here towards the back. For the top tier, I'm using some of the smaller gnomes from the Dollar Tree. They have some really large ones you'll see I'm going to use on the bottom, but I use the smaller ones here on top. This one says welcome. He's riding a turtle. He's so cute. He has a little mushroom as well. I just give his beard a little touch up there with a paint pen to make him look a little bit better. I do have to touch up a couple of these items, which is expected using items from the Dollar Tree, but he's so cute. I'm going to put him right there in front. The next gnomes I'm using are sitting on a little wood log, super cute. It's a couple of his and her gnome, and it comes with a little mushroom as well from the Dollar Tree. I thought this would be a really cute piece as well for the front. My camera was having a hard time focusing on them. See how cute they are? Sitting right next to each other with their little gnome hats on. I'm going to put those here on the other side, here in the front. They look great down into the moss like that. And then for the next item, I want to do a table and chairs. This one has a flower table that I can use for that. And it also has a birdhouse that I'm going to use in just a minute on the top tier. I think it's really cute. It looks like a wooden birdhouse. I'm going to do the table back here behind them, little flower table, nesting that into the moss. And then for the chair, I'm going to use a butterfly chair from the Dollar Tree for the fairies. I'm not going to have anybody sitting in it, but I thought it'd be great for a table chair combo here towards the back. And I don't know if you believe in spirits or not, but my camera just captured an orb going across the screen, and I did see it in real time, so it did make me pause. Let me show it to you real quick. Isn't that wild? And I thought I was alone. So I put the little birdhouse right there in the front. Everything is the perfect scale for this. I'm going to rearrange my moss a little bit to make it look a little bit better. And I think that that is looking really cute. And I'm going to scatter a few of the mushrooms here too from those packs, since it's a little bit smaller scale up here on the top of our tier tray. Now for the bottom, I wanted to do one of the freestanding doors from the fairy garden section. They're so cute this year. I really love this blue one. And I'm going to put that against the pole here in the middle. And there was another orb just there. I didn't know this was going to be such a paranormal type video. Ooh, maybe they are fairies. I had put that on there. And then these are the larger gnomes that I saw from the Dollar Tree. This one's holding like a little flower to feed the birds. I thought about even putting a little bit of bird seed in there. I thought that'd be cute. I'm just going to touch up his flower a little bit here with the paint pen. He doesn't need much. I love his leafy hat, and he is going to be a great scale. Since that door is really big, I'm going to put him here towards the front, to the side of the ladder a little bit. And I think he's going to be really cute. I did find 2 gnomes this size from the Dollar Tree. This is the other one that's got a mossy hat, which I love. The only problem is they got a little bit of the moss on the flowers too. So I'm just going to touch those up real quick with some paint pens just to make them look a little bit better. Just painting directly over that mossy material that was on there. And its hands and nose were really skinned up as well. So I'm just going to use some ivory paint here, just something I had, and a tiny paintbrush, and touch him up a little bit just to make him look a little bit better. He had a lot of green coming through on that, which didn't really make sense. And touch up his beard a little bit too with some white, just to make him look his very best. He's so cute. I'm going to use him towards the front too so you can see him well. The largest ones towards the front. And then I want to do a couple houses for them. Now, they don't have houses to scale for that size of gnome, but I found this one that looks like a tree with like banana leaves all over the top. And I'm thinking they will look like houses in the distance, right? Because they're in the back, which would make more sense since they are smaller than the scale of everything else down here. But I want to put a little bit off to the side so you can still see it behind that big gnome. And then this is the house I chose for the other side. It's one of the white mushroom houses with the moss on top. Mine was chipped up a little bit, so I'm going to touch it up with a paint pen and a Sharpie just to add a little bit of fun to it. I didn't realize the moss was kind of chipped on that one, but it'll work. That'll be another little house we can put here towards the back. Again, offsetting it a little bit so you can still see it from the front of the tier tray. And then I want to do a path to the door. I'm going to use the bath salt from the Dollar Tree for gravel. So I just make a little path here in the reindeer moss where I can sprinkle that in there. Just going to add another little texture, decor, and make sense. Pebbles going to the door. And since this is a larger scale down here, I felt like I needed less fairy garden items because they're all larger. But I do want spring flowers. So I'm going to be using the light pink and the pink baby's breath and some of the yellow wildflowers as well. I'm just cutting them into little pieces here. They stay on there perfectly fine. And I want a variety of the 2 different kinds of pink together, but also some of the yellow, which I can just pull off. It's just going to make it more interesting. And I think that's going to be enough for both tiers. I just take these and start putting those down into the moss. I'm not going to glue them down or anything. I want to be able to reuse this moss for other crafting because I used so much of it, and just scatter those all around. Isn't this such a fun theme for a spring tier tray? I really like it. You could definitely use it outdoors if you wanted, if you have like a porch or area that's covered. But I think I'm going to be using mine indoor for a spring tiered tray. I like the two different colors of pink and the yellow mixed together. And basically, anywhere where there was a little bit of too much green, I added some flowers to break it up. And we're going to do the same thing up here on the top tier, where all of our little smaller gnomes are living. And using the gnomes for a fairy garden is really fun. They're so cute. I really love the table and chair on that as well. Let me give you a look around our little tier tray to show you all the fun details that we added. I love that size mushroom. I think that works out well. The little rope ladder is too cute. The door works perfectly there without even having to add like anything else. And I love those large gnomes. I think they're so cute, right? Definitely another fun way you can use the fairy garden items from the Dollar Tree. Again, I'm really impressed with the ones they have this year. The doors, the larger gnomes. I think that the furniture is better. Everything is just a little bit better than the tiny ones that they used to have at the Dollar Tree. But I think this is a really festive tier tray idea for spring.